Well, hello, everyone. This is Siobhan Shaw, and I am bringing you Dr. Roni with Red Hot Topics tonight. We had a whole plan for a great show. So what we are going to do, because our host, Donna Butler, she is stuck in traffic in a multi-vehicle accident. And no, she's not in the accident, but she cannot get off the highway. So she cannot talk to us tonight. But we have the most amazing, incredible person in the world. I have the great honor of being able to work with her on Red Hot Topics, and it's been quite a ride so far. Dr. Roni, hasn't it? It's been fun. And Dr. Roni DeLuz is with us all the way from Martha's Vineyard. I'm coming to you from the Arizona desert, and it's probably hotter here than it is where Dr. Roni is, but she makes it red hot when she starts talking. And tonight we're going to touch on a personal story of mine. I've been recently diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, stage 4. It's just about everywhere you can think of except my brain. And that's a good thing that it's not there yet. I don't expect it to be there. And I can tell you that in the hardest part, the darkest part of my cancer journey so far, Dr. Roni called me every day. And you want to have a Dr. Roni in your corner when you're going through cancer. And I'm going to bring her in right now because Dr. Roni, I love you.
I might start crying, but that's okay, right? I wasn't called to be a cancer specialist. It's people like you, Siobhan, that make me a cancer specialist. Because I specifically remember when I was dealing with this publicist many years ago, when I had the New York Times bestseller, I was dealing with cancer and Lyme disease and chronic conditions like high blood pressure and high cholesterol, but not cancer, because you have to be a specialist in that. Not that I didn't know a lot about it, but it wasn't something that I thought that I would do. I thought I was going to write this book called The High Fives right after my other New York bestseller. And that's where I thought the world was taking me. And then, boom, all of a sudden, after COVID, I kept getting these calls. And I have to admit, Siobhan, I said no to a few of them. And I said yes to you because I kept thinking, I can't do cancer the way I want to until Robert Kennedy, and not everybody loves him. A lot of people think he's crazy, and I'm not saying he's not, and I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying I love what he's doing in terms of our medical rights. I'm sorry. I think we deserve our medical rights. I think it's up to each and every individual to decide and choose what's best for their health. And that's how I feel when it comes to vaccinations. I've lost people because of vaccinations. I lost children, I lost adults, I've lost elderly people. Why did I lose them? Because they should not have chosen that in their life, because they had an autoimmune condition, they had a kidney disease. So when you came along, and I would say, a half a dozen really good friends with cancer that I decided that I would take on. But now I think it's getting to the point where I'm becoming a specialist again, because I find myself, Siobhan, awake 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, researching, trying to figure out, why is ivermectin working? Why is Fidezemol working? Why is this chemo not working? Why is Criscali working? How is it working? What is it doing to the cells? And I can't seem to stop. And I now know more about prostate cancer than the average prostate doctor. Because the prostate doctor is dealing with the health of the prostate. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with the prostate when it has cancer. I'm trying to figure out why is it that some people have stage 1 breast cancer and others have metastatic cancer and that derived from the breast. I'm trying to understand why it is that the person who is healthy and strong, who runs every day and exercise every day, why is it that they got metastatic cancer and the person who sits on the couch didn't get it? These are the things that I'm studying. So I had to study, what does it mean to have autophagy, and why does autophagy help with cancer? Why is it that we have to modulate our immune system? The best thing that happened to me was one of the choices why I chose to do cancer again at a level that I'm doing it now is because of for life transfer factors. I've been dealing with colostrum 25 years ago as a young nurse. Before I came a naturopath, I knew what colostrum was, but now it's taken on a whole new meaning. We're talking about nanotechnology. Now it's not just regular colostrum, it's colostrum 100 times more. Just for the one dosage, we're talking about 100 times the dose than what I learned 25 years ago with just colostrum.
Mhm.
I'm learning why ketosis helps cancer. Why, what causes apoptosis? And why is it that somebody's able to have a miracle and why some don't ever get that miracle? And a lot of it has to do with, and we talked about this, Siobhan, it has to do with body, mind, and spirit. It's not just the body, because the body will do what the mind tells it. If the mind says, I'm done, you're done. I got a chapter in my book called Bass. I'm not sure I'm going to call it that, but I learn a lot from people like you and Bass and those who I've taken care of for years and years, is because they tell me what is it about them, why they're going to survive. I know why you're going to survive this. By having the relationship with you, I can learn what you got is what it takes, and why what Bass didn't have, but what you got. And so until you have a practitioner or a healer that understands body, mind, and spirit, you're not going to get the whole picture.
So what is it that I have that Bass doesn't have? And just for a little history for the watchers, the
You
watchers,
have,
the audience, I,
do
I've
you know what
only
you're doing
just
right
I've
now?
only just been diagnosed in June with this cancer, and I was healthy up till the minute I wasn't healthy.
Right. And this may not seem fair, but you have an impeccable immune system. And when you have an impeccable immune system, you don't get to see it right away. You were still doing what you were doing. You were still working. You were still running. You were still eating, and you're doing all the great things that people with a healthy immune system do. Now, someone who didn't have a healthy immune system, right away, they would go, oh, God, I'm dying. And they would go straight to the hospital. And they would have found out, oh, this is why you feel like this. But you didn't do that, Siobhan. I've watched you not being able to breathe good. And finally, I said, you got to go see about this. Whatever it was that you were thinking, I knew it wasn't that because it was too much, too long. But
It was
you
allergies. I
kept,
thought it was allergies.
you kept persevering. You have perseverance.
Mm.
Yeah, you told me every book in this. You told me every story in the book. Because I have allergies. I have this. I have that. Finally, I'm going. Something's else going up. So perseverance do not go away. You still have it, and it's that perseverance is what's going to keep you alive.
Yeah, because I mean, I was rushed to the emergency. I've never seen a team of medical people descend on me ever in my life. I've rarely been in the hospital, rarely have to go to the doctors. And these people came out of the woodwork and they checked my heart first because I had shortness of breath. and I must have looked a fright. And John would looked worried. I mean, John, the big guy, John, he can take a lot, and he's usually very calm, but he was worried, and he had been watching me have a harder and harder time breathing over a period of time, where I thought I had allergies because he had the same symptoms, but mine was getting worse, and he was just, sneezing and coughing and, snotty nose and stuff like that, a typical allergy. But mine was getting worse, and I was having trouble talking.
Yeah, I
Talking
saw that. Yeah.
I was having trouble talking. I was having trouble walking. I couldn't do our walk anymore. I would stop. I was like, John, please stop. I can't do this. And I'd be catching my breath. I remember having to walk my neighbor's dog. I couldn't walk the poor little pup for more than just a few feet without stopping.
No.
And that was totally unlike me. I'm strong. I'm a farmer. I grew up on a farm. I walk all the time. I lift heavy objects. I'm healthy, 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 healthy. And all of a sudden it was just like, boom. And then they got in there and they started to take all those images and those blood tests, and they thought it was my heart, but my heart is strong. My blood tests are normal. That in itself is kind of perplexing to the docs, right? You even said yourself,
Mhm.
they couldn't find cancer markers, but my body lit up like a Christmas tree with the PET scan and
Yeah.
the CAT scans and everything. They could tell I was riddled with cancer. And
Yeah.
they knew from whatever they did, it was breast cancer that had metastasized.
Yeah.
Metastasized into my lymph. That's where they dug in there. I remember they did a
Mhm.
biopsy. Man, that hurt. It's like under your arm. Oh my God, that hurt. And they got that. My lung had filled with fluid, so it crushed my lung into the center chest cavity, and the rest of the air sac, the pleura, that is supposed to
And I
have
remember
air, was
when I
full
looked
with
at
water, full with body fluid. That was the reason I couldn't breathe.
but do you know that the average person would have never, when I saw how much fluid was in your lungs, I had to say, no, this is not really, they made an error. I had to keep going into your chart, trying to figure out if they made an error. No one, it is on a rarity that somebody have that much fluid in their lungs, look like you, talk like you, walk like you. And so we kept saying, nah, it must have been, they're exaggerating this. And so that's the reason why you're going to survive. The average person would have not been able to tolerate that at all.
Wow. I mean, I took pictures of the fluid that came out every time, and I won't show it on camera here, but they were liter jars.
Yeah.
And what they did was they went in the back, the sort of near the bottom of your lung, and
Hmm.
oh, that hurt too. Like I was
Yeah.
crying and I was coughing because it makes a pain come across your collarbone,
So, yeah. Yeah.
and they've stabbed you in the back with a needle, and then they express the fluid, and they watch with the ultrasound so
Mm.
that they don't pierce your lung, because
Yeah.
it's the air sac cavity that's been the lining. The cancer has eaten the lining, like it's made it porous. It's not supposed to be porous. It's supposed to
Right.
keep your body fluid out. So for me, that was the most life-threatening thing that I had. I probably wouldn't have known about the breast cancer unless I had that intervention. And I believe that it's the big guy upstairs and the
Hmm.
big guy I live with that both were like, no, okay, this is it. She's gonna just drop. She's not gonna give up. She's not gonna go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're strong, you have a strong immune system, you have perseverance, you have persistence, you have all the qualities why someone can survive this. The average person would not have been able to survive this. And the average person would have been long gone. I'm sorry to say, I've seen a lot of cancer in my life. Cancer is a very complicated, perplex uh, job for somebody like me because I'm an empath.
Yeah.
So well, the average doctor is sleeping at 3 a.m. I'm like trying to figure it all out. How did Siobhan survive this? What is it that we were missing? And why didn't she know sooner? And I figured it all out. The signs were there. You were just strong. And so how I deal with one person, it's called personalized medicine. I tell you all the time. You don't treat everyone the same. Like when they come here, I don't know what I'm going to do with one lady that's here right now. I just know I'm going to love her, I'm going to help her, I'm going to educate her, and I'm going to work on 6 principles with her. But
What are-
ultimately, I don't know the end result of her decision making process. I'm just going to do the best that I can to allow her to feel healthy and happy and to be able to make that decision on her own, right? And that's what we're supposed to do as integrative doctors and holistic practitioners. And then when you decide the next stage, then I'm there right with you because I was with you at the beginning of that stage. No doctor can jump in and say, I want you to do A, B, or C. And you go, why? Who are you? You don't even know me.
Yeah, and that's what I found was I had the attending doctor in emergency. She was lovely, and she was surprised it wasn't my heart, and she was just as surprised that it was cancer, right?
Mhm.
Because I didn't present that way. I had shortness of breath. I might have looked a little, my eyes might have been a little bit closed because I was having trouble breathing. But then in the hospital, they rushed me to the hospital. I, I thought, wow, this is great. I have my own room. Like I was, I was, even though I was really sick at that time because of the shortness of breath, I was still able to function. I don't know exactly when I told you, probably the next morning, right? And then it's that next morning that the doctors started coming in. The attending for the hospital, the oncology department doctors came
Yeah,
in.
because they were all
Talking
talking. This is a very interesting case. Like I was up all
about
night
me,
studying. They were like talking it out, like, whoa, did you know about the girl in the room 3B1A?
right?
And they're all talking about you because it's a rare that you see something like that.
They had to hook me up to oxygen. My oxygen level was very low. And what is interesting, I knew it because you told me to get an oxygen meter, which
Mm-hmm.
takes your oxygen and then your pulse rate, right?
Mm-hmm.
My pulse rate was getting higher and my oxygen was getting lower.
That's
That's
right.
a good thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that was a sign right there.
that's a sign. That's
But
right. Yeah,
if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have realized it. I would it would beep if went under 90. It was like beep,
right.
right?
Exactly.
That
Yeah.
scares you. You go, okay, I guess I should do something about it, right? And that's
Yeah.
what John said. That's enough. We're getting in the car. You're going to emergency.
Right.
He didn't
Mhm.
know that I wasn't coming home for 2 weeks.
Right. I know.
Poor guy. He had to learn to do the laundry and the dishes, look after himself and dress himself. No, it's not that bad, but do you know what I mean? Like
Right.
he was stunned. He was like,
Yeah.
wait a minute. And he's a
Yeah.
23-year cancer
Yeah.
survivor.
Yeah.
He survived platinum cancer.
Mm-hmm.
The needles in the arm, that he went bald. He lost all his hair. And you've seen him, Dr. Ronnie. He has a full head of hair. It's long
Oh.
and it's curly. He's got lots of hair now. But he survived it, but he
Mm-hmm.
knew how to survive it. And that's the one strength that he brought to the table, other than he loved me. And he told me that more than he had in 32 years in like 2 weeks. And he was like, oh crap, I might lose her. Right?
Right. I'm
I
gonna be
love her.
alone. I'm
She
gonna do
can't go
everything
anywhere.
alone. Yeah.
And yeah, I can't use my cell phone. She has to always figure it out for me. What am I
Yes.
gonna do? But anyway, so he was so funny. He
Yeah.
brought his humor injections. He
Mm-hmm.
he brought his knowledge of how to fight cancer and how to recover from it from 23 years ago. He remembered. He got me home from the hospital after 2 weeks. They finally let me out because my oxygen level went up to like 93%. And they decided
So
to,
scary. Yeah.
and it's still scary, right?
Hmm.
And the next morning, he may have let me lay in bed till about 10 a.m. And then he said, Siobhan, get up. We're going shopping. And he's like shopping to me. I'm like, I'm ready.
Right.
I'm
Right.
on my deathbed, but you tell me
Mhm.
I'm going to go shopping, and I figure
Mhm.
we're going to go clothes shopping, right?
Right.
My favorite hobby, if I have the money. And he takes me to the grocery store and he gets one of those little carts that the seniors use. Ellen, I know you're in the audience, seniors. And here I am. He says, hold on to it. And then he says, I'll be right back. He runs, parks the truck, runs back in. He goes, okay, let's go. And I'm like this. I can barely walk. I've 2 weeks, I've been sitting in bed. The most I did was some yoga exercises in bed, but I couldn't even walk the halls of the hospital because I was so weak. And he puts me on the cart and he says, hang on. And then held me he held me up, like he made sure that I wasn't going to topple over, right?
Wow. Yeah.
started he started to walk. We started to walk around the outside of the
Mm.
office, and that was all I could do. And I think he picked up some things as we went, and we went through the cash, and everybody was asking me because they know me in that store, what's wrong? And they knew I
Yeah.
was gone for 2 weeks. He'd probably told them a wild tale. And so I have this whole cheering section from the staff at the grocery store, and each and every day he took me every day, and we walked a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And Dr. Ronnie, to this day, it's what, 3 months now since I came out of the hospital. I walk 3 miles a day in the air conditioning of this grocery store.
Wow.
Everybody knows me. Sometimes they give me free coffee, free
Oh.
ice cream. They're
Oh.
just
Wow.
amazing. Don't tell I
That's so
said, don't tell
nice.
Dr. Ruby about the ice cream.
That's so nice though that they're watching you and they're looking at you and they're going, "What a miracle!" And a lot of people are saying, "What a miracle!" If they're not saying it, if they're thinking it.
Where do people get that perseverance or that energy? My energy went up that because I decided to do a podcast and a community to help breast cancer patients, and I want
Mhm.
doing little gift bags.
Yeah.
Little gift bags. This is
Yeah.
part of one of them, and different. There's a book, and there's different things that our sponsors are bringing in. And I'm going to go put these gift bags together, and I'm going to go to the cancer clinic that I go to in the hospital, and
Mhm.
hopefully they'll let me hand them out, or they'll hand them out to cancer patients. And so I decided to do this podcast, sort of
Mhm.
not, like I have all the time in the world.
Like the cancer bites.
It's called Cancer Bites, and it's helping them reclaim the joy.
Yeah.
And the minute I decided to do that, my energy shifted from the poor me, why me, the depression, the anxiety, mostly,
Yeah.
to really high energy. And I was able to start talking again. That's when the thoracentesis, or the drugs, started to work on repairing the lining of my lungs. and
Yeah.
and the I was going for thoracentesis every week. Now I go every 3 weeks, and I'm pushing it out a little bit because I don't even feel it. I don't feel the fluid in my lungs, and I'm in week
I'll
2.
just keep doing the oximeter and you'll know when the fluid's in your lungs.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but I don't know where I get that survival instinct. And
Yeah.
I cried, Dr. Ronnie, because why me?
Yeah. You go through
I'll have
that
this
stage.
for the
Yeah.
rest of my life, they say, right?
Hmm. Yeah. Well, you're going through the stages and you're past the why me stage and now you have a purpose, right?
Yeah.
And purpose sometimes given to us, we just don't know. We all live in the world of frequency and we don't know that we're heading in that direction, but your calling is you're supposed to help people. And so because you're within your calling, and you're helping, you feel better. And you feel better, so you have more oxygen to do what it is that your calling is telling you to do.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to talk to you like this
Right.
when, I mean,
Mhm.
you talked to me on the phone quite a
Mhm.
lot when I was in the hospital. I think every day you called me.
Mhm.
I couldn't talk to you sometimes. I more listen,
Right.
right? And I'd talk a little bit and you could tell I was still having trouble catching my breath. And I still sometimes, if I talk too much, I I do that, but
Mhm.
not anywhere near like I did. And it
Yeah.
surprised me because I think that if I could if I could bottle that,
Yeah.
I could help so many people. But I think
Yeah.
it's because you gave me the the love and support. John gave me the love and support. My friends all surrounded me, my family, once they found out, right? They were like, they were sending me things. They were sending me blankets and Bibles and just encouragement. I
Yeah.
mean, I had people come out of the woodwork that I hadn't talked to in years and years and years, and they wanted to help. How can we help? Uh,
Right.
and I think it's that kind of support and that sort of then I started to get into these wellness rituals, which I learned so much from you already. So, it's easy for me to stay off of sugar. It's easy for me to go back on coffee. I did. I did go back on coffee, but it becomes part of a ritual where I get up every day, I get dressed, put my lipstick on, and I go get a coffee, right? And it makes me get out of the house,
Right.
and then I come back, I make breakfast and go on with my day. And then, it's early on, I'd still have to nap. And sometimes like this weekend, I've had high anxiety. I don't know where that's coming from, but I just have to kind of like work my way through it and chalk it up to some sort of hormonal thing going on,
Mhm.
right?
Are you are you feeling more comfortable now that you're doing the cancer bites and you're helping people? And just kind of ask yourself what time of the day the anxiety is happening is when you're not in your element of helping people, or is it because you're having a stimulant? Because sometimes coffee can cause that. Um,
Probably
you
my
know,
coffee ritual.
yeah, it could be, but if it's
Yeah,
just that, that's easy to fix, right?
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
everybody see how great Dr. Ronnie is? She- she's not going to tell me I can't have coffee. But you're probably right. I thought about that. And I've tried a few days without coffee and I'm a little bit tired and I probably have to push through it. I'm just not ready to push through it, but because there's
A lot
a
of
lot that you
times,
have to give up, right?
yeah, but a lot of times, if you're having like a low day or a low oxygen day, you can make what's called a high energy oxygen drink. Like you could do things like get some chlorophyll and some flaxseed, chia seeds. Get the green drink, of course. We have a great for life Nutra clear blue vanilla bean powder. It's delicious. You use that as your base, and then you add the chlorophyll. You won't even hardly taste the chlorophyll, and maybe add a little bit of green powder and some blueberries, flaxseed, chia seeds, a little bit of turmeric, and you do those drinks. I mean, it's amazing how much energy you get from them.
Oh,
Uh,
that's good. I'll try
and
that.
it's healthy. It's not sugar. You didn't hear me mention any sugar. Just a little bit of blueberries.
Yeah.
But you can use a little stevia, vanilla stevia, or something like that. But it's a high energy drink, but it's also with some protein and flaxseed oil or that omega 3, which you need. If you replace that with the coffee drink, I bet you your anxiety will go away. But add a little ashwagandha in there if it doesn't, or
Okay.
just a little touch of magnesium.
And that is an example of personalized medicine because that's me. I've now told you I'm having a little bit of anxiety, Dr. Ronnie. It's kind of going through the roof.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's probably when I'm not working in my passion,
Right.
right?
You have too much time to think.
Yeah,
Mhm.
right. The what ifs, what,
Right.
the where's the future going?
Right.
Why, oh, my bones are hurting now. Is that going to go on forever? Or should I believe John when he says it's just remodeling?
Yeah.
The
You got
cancer cells are dying and then the new cells are just knitting your
right.
bones together again.
You got a healing crisis, it's a
Right.
detox crisis. And
Right.
sometimes it's good to have knowledge, but if you just dwell on that too much, that can cause anxiety.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you the story about Tommy?
No.
So Tommy was this guy who they just thought that he was dying. Everybody, all his doctors, friends, family, and everybody thought he was dying. So I go to the hospital because they says, "Are you here to see Tommy?" And they go, "Well, we were waiting for you." And there's this the medical director of the hospital, the social workers, the priests or whatever you call them that's in the hospital. Everybody was waiting for me because I was supposed to have an appointment to go see Tommy. And so I get into the room and I'm going, doesn't look good. This is something bad that they're getting ready to tell me. So they all look at me and the head doctor goes, "So tell us about Tommy." And I go, "Well, what do you want to know?" And then the other doctor looked because I was resistant. I didn't want to talk because they didn't tell me what the meeting was about. So the other doctor says, "Well, he just won't die." And I go, "He won't die." And then the nurse over there goes, "Yeah, he has zero T cells. We don't understand why somebody like him is not dead already, just won't die. So we want to know, tell us about Tommy." It's a true story. So I says, "Oh, you scared me. I thought he died because the way you guys approached me, no one told me what the meeting was about." They said, "No, we just want to know about Tommy." So one of the things that came out of this meeting that I always remember about Tommy, and I tell this story about Tommy because Tommy was the longest living AIDS person in the country, one of them. He had no T cells. So this is who Tommy was. He never worried about himself. He never thought about ever having that kind of a disease. He didn't believe anything that they said about him. He knew within inside every cell in his body knew that he was fine and he was going to be okay. I don't know where he got it from, but I do know that when he would see me, he would worry about me more than I worried about him. And he would say, "You shouldn't be walking the streets like this. This is a dangerous area." And he says, "Put your purse away and put it inside your coat and make sure you wear a hat." And he says, "Why you got those shoes on? You need to have on sneakers or something." And I went home and I told my mom, I says, "Here's a guy that worries about everybody. He walks in the rain with no umbrella and he's just happy all the time. Everyone's dying that has AIDS. This was the time when everyone was dying. Tommy didn't die. What was the difference between Tommy and someone else? Tell me what the difference was."
His attitude,
Yeah,
his
he didn't believe that he was going to die. He didn't believe that he needed to die. He didn't believe that he was supposed to die. He was just nothing but pure love.
and it's very interesting because although I went through those dark days and nights where I wanted to, first of all, I fought with the nurse on duty one day because I wanted to go home and die in John's arms. Because,
You told me that.
right. And then at one time when I was home, I was lying in bed and I couldn't fall asleep. And I had these dark, dark images of I wanted him to put a pillow over my head, or I wanted to find a bottle of sleeping pills and, start chewing on them and just let go. And then it would be okay because John would be able to go on and he'd find somebody else and he'd have a good life. But what kind of life is he going to have with me? I went through all that, right?
Yeah.
And and but here's the kicker is that years and years ago, I would go to bed and say my gratitudes. I would find something to be grateful for. And that came from my time doing the Attitude Shift show with Donna Butler, who was supposed to be on, but she's stuck in a
Right.
pile up on the
Accident.
highway somewhere in Louisiana. But we have to get her to come on again. But she would have been crying and bawling anyway, because she said, "Oh, it'll be the first time I've seen you since your diagnosis." So she was all ready to cry. But what I would do is I would find those things to be grateful for every night. And then also I would recite 3 words. And we're the same 3 words. And it'd be love, 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 love. And I, even in my anxious states, if
Yeah.
I just say love, 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 and break that circuit,
Yes.
it's love, love, love. I have a shirt that says love, 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 love,
Yeah.
love. I think one says love one time and one says love 5. I have all these love t-shirts. And I, the other thing that I would do was say, I close my eyes and I would say, all the cells in my body are healthy. All the cells in my body are healthy. All the cells in my body are healthy.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
you might not have been, Dr. Ronnie, right? Because it doesn't happen overnight, metastatic breast cancer. So, but I believed that all my cells in my body were healthy.
Well, yeah. But see, when I asked Tommy that, he said what you just said. He says, because there's nothing wrong with me. I'm healthy. Now, the average doctor would say, well, he's just crazy, right? And then there'll be empaths like me will say, I absolutely believe you, Tommy.
You have to.
And
Because it,
so he
when,
lived like that. He talked like that. He walked like that. And every day he was helping other people. And the doctors who were closed minded were all looking at him like he had 2 heads. Like, how is he doing this with 0 T cells? How is
that,
this man surviving this? And so I teach that a lot. And I just think that we underestimate the value of what it means to be a spirit and an emotional mind, body, and spirit. We think we're just the body. We're not.
how is it? Because this is the one thing the doctors, my oncologist says, your bloods are perfect. I remember the emergency doctors. Your bloods are perfect. I remember the attending in the hospital. Your bloods are perfect. And you talk about doing your blood labs or whatever they're called on a regular basis because you look at the blood of your patients to see what it looks like, but mine looked perfect.
Yeah, yeah, because
Find
that's why
the
they miss.
cancer markers,
Yeah,
they couldn't find them.
right. Because what happens in the body is sometimes if your body is inflamed really bad, and if you're a healthy person and there's no inflammation and you've got good antioxidants going through and you've got good vitamin status going through, the doctors are prompted not to go deep until first stage blood level allows them to be able to go deep. So they never go past the first panel of blood work that they give in. They go, well, this looks great. And so they'll come and tell you it looks great, but they
Yeah.
didn't dig deep. And so you don't find integrative blood work done in a hospital. They just don't do it. They don't get paid to do it.
Got it. So if they would take my labs and break it down even more, they would find what the the markers that show that I have cancer.
Yeah, they would have had to go deep. And but they didn't because they did the scans and you said it.
Yeah.
You lit up like a Christmas tree. So now they don't even have to do the blood work. They saw it. But there's a lot of
I'm all ready for the holidays.
yeah.
Put some mistletoe in my hair and off I
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. And we always think about, all right, when I tell people about, yellow, green, and red, you know, and the power of yellow, green, and red, how you have to do it all the time, every day, because we live in a very toxic world. And a lot of people, when I first started 25 years ago, when I started detoxing, because I'm the OG of detox now, Donna told me that. I think Donna
Yeah.
told me, you're the OG. I think back then, 25 years ago, I knew the world was toxic. But here it is 25 years later, and the world is deadly toxic. So it hasn't gotten better.
Mm.
And so 25 years ago, I would say do a detox once a year for 21 days. Now I'm saying you better not ever get off the detox. so, and so we have to live a detox lifestyle
Yeah.
because, when I talk about apoptosis, I don't mean just getting rid of the cancer cells, which apoptosis will do, but it's also suppressing the new growth. And it's also the ability to digest a foreign cell, knowing that it's not a healthy cell. And to do that, you have to have antioxidants and you have to have greens, which helps you alkalize the body. And you got to have protein because protein is an essential amino acid. And our nutritional plan that we had 30 years ago does not work today. When they did the triangle or whatever it's called, the pyramid or this here
Mhm.
thing, you know,
Yeah.
that doesn't work today. Okay. So no, we can't have all these carbs and breads and all of these things. So we have to change our way of nutrition according to the day's times. And today's times is we live in a very toxic world, which makes cancer grow.
Absolutely. I'm the last person. There's no cancer in my family. I think my dad did have leukemia, but that would have been from transfusions when he was in the Second World War, and he lost his leg, and they would have transfused
Yeah.
much blood into him. He probably never didn't have his own after that. Uh,
Yeah.
right. And so what you bring to the table, Dr. Ronnie, is this integrative personalized medicine, and you're there every step of the way. I mean, even with me, I know I can pick up the phone and call you, but early on, I don't, it's like midnight, 1 o'clock, because I'm 3 hours behind you. I'm on the West Coast, you're on the East Coast. And like at 8 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, I would get a call from you or a text from you. How are you doing? What's your oxygen? You asked me that for weeks.
At
And
one
I,
o'clock in the
I
morning.
knew I was getting better because the calls got less and less.
Well, at the time, I'm thinking, okay, I got to get her better. And in order to get you better, you have to be proactive. And in order to get you proactive, I have to tell you this is what you have to do. You have to know what your oxygen is because you cannot wait until your lungs fill up because you're strong.
Mhm.
Do it anymore because now you know that you can go and your lungs can fill way up and you're not feeling like the average person. You're like at the grocery store. And then all of a sudden this the 911, the paramedics, they're going, what happened to this lady? And he's just walking around with an oxygen of 82. So,
You know,
we
those
we
are
we
little things
we
that you can do for yourself, right?
well, we get the tools
Yeah.
and we have to know the tools. Like, I concentrate on your oximeter, but let's just say if you were a diabetic, I would say, okay, put that phone over that glucose monitor right here, right here. And this is what's called personalized medicine. I know that we now have what's called arm blood pressure. So some of my patients, I'll say, no, it's unacceptable. These blood pressure machines now are so small, so personal. You could put it in your pocket, put it on your wrist and go like this, press the button, and there's your blood pressure. So these are the things that I want to teach people how to live a well life at home, because they're already telling us, they're telling us that you can't go to the hospital for stupid emergencies anymore. They
Mhm.
already told us they're shutting the hospitals down, guys, as we speak. I already know 22 that's been shut down in the last year
Why are they shutting them down?
because they can't afford it. They can't afford, these hospitals are poor and they don't have enough nurses. And nurses are smart enough to know that they can't risk their lives anymore. And there's a lot of reasons, but mostly it's because they can't afford it, because the insurance company says, not paying you for this. Nope, not doing it. Not paying you for this, and this. And the hospital can't afford it because people are not walking in with millions of dollars to pay for their care. If insurance company opts out, what choice do they have? The donors and donations only go so far. So the smaller hospitals are, look, Yale New Haven Hospital is a very rich hospital. They laid off almost 50 doctors.
Oh
Yes. Yeah.
my gosh. So what's the kit? You need an oximeter that takes
So
your
you
heart
need an
rate.
oximeter at home. You need a blood pressure, and you also need a thermometer, and you also need the urine test kit that tests about 12 different parameters, so that if I ever called you and you say, for an example, someone just called me the other day, I have an irritation in my bladder, and so my brain is going, well, is there blood in your urine? Is there leukocytes in your urine? Do you have nitrates in your urine? I don't know. So instead of sending her to the emergency room, I said, go test your urine. You got a kit. I sent you a kit. Go test your urine. She tests her urine, no blood, no leukocytes. She's got an irritation. She's in ketosis and she's dehydrated. Ah, that's easy. Go get some cranberry juice, mix it with some lemon juice, put a bunch of distilled water in it, and drink it. Now, if she had gone to the emergency room, tell me what they would have done.
Well, what would they have done? They would have
They would have given her some antibiotics
antibiotics. That's right.
or something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
But now I'm saying you don't have to do that anymore. Wellness is not an appointment. Wellness is a lifestyle. Illness is not an appointment. You can do it yourself at home. An appointment will get you one thing, a drug. What are you going to do after that? You still got to take care of yourself after the drug.
You do telehealth appointments. So you're just like with this lady with the urine uh, issue, and she just needed some cranberry juice, lemon juice, and some distilled water to clear it up. She didn't need the antibiotics. By
Right. You had
calling you, she saved a whole lot of money and a whole lot of grief and a whole lot of time.
drink some water. You needed some fluid. She was dehydrated. Exercising without fluid is not the way to go. Her bladder was irritated and she was very acid. So there's hundreds of cases like that in a lot of different areas. You got to know why your heart rate just went up to 100. What were you just doing?
Right.
These are all things that hospitals are saying, you can't come here to the ER with these little things anymore. They are literally telling you, and how they're telling you is they're putting you in the bed, in the stretcher, and you're there for many hours because you're not a priority. That's telling you that you are not a priority and you shouldn't be here. You're not an emergency. That's what they're saying.
And in some countries, you are an emergency, but they still let you sit and wait. And so you're lucky to be in
Yeah,
the United States, to be
right.
quite honest, because they will, if it's an emergency,
Yeah.
boy, did I witness how fast they move. They were here to save my life, not to let me die. And I will forever be thankful to that entire medical team and all the people that I met through my cancer journey to date.
All they did was take one thing that I told you. They looked at your oxygen, and boy, they probably says this lady is going to have a heart attack if we don't do something.
Yeah.
How is she even alive with this oxygen level? That's what they were thinking. I'm telling you, that's what they were thinking.
I know they all came and looked at me. I was like a monkey in a cage or something. I was like,
They were like this.
they're peering in, they come in, and I could hear them sometimes talking
Yeah,
outside the hall. They
yeah.
didn't. Oh yeah, they're talking about me. They're going to
Oh,
be
yeah.
coming in.
Yeah.
Now, how everybody can reach you at drronideluz.com.
Yes, and someone called me earlier today that we are literally trying now to do concentrate on getting people to the retreat, educating them. So we're going back to our 444 program
Okay.
and educating them to teach them how to help themselves at home. Like my cancer patient, hoping that she brings her mother in when I get back in a week, teach her and her mom. She has throat cancer, but what I want to do is teach her and her nurse. See, that's what I want to. I need to teach people how to stay well at home,
Hmm.
and we could do it in 4 days. It's an education program, and I have somebody coming on Saturday. I'm just going to show her how to do her shots. She says, Dr. Ronnie, I love you dearly, but I'm not going to learn shots on FaceTime. Sorry. So, you get all kinds, right? I mean,
Right.
certain people are going to go so far I get it. Telehealth is great I think a lot of young people love it, right? But some people says, you're going to show me how to give a shot on FaceTime?
Really?
No, that's not happening. But I think it's the best thing that I've ever done because I'm able to help a lot more people. And I think we still have the 21-day for serious situations. But at the same time, you still need telehealth. Whether you stay 4 days, 10 days, or 21 days, you got to go home. And when
And
you
you
go
got to have that.
home, you need to know what to do so you don't show back up here. That's my goal. Don't show back up. Let me teach you how to take care of yourself at home.
So, like I said to the nurses and doctors,
Yeah.
I thank you very much, but I hope I never see you again.
Right. That's right. That's right.
I, of course, run into a lot of them still because I go to the hospital for my thoracentesis. But
Yeah.
they would laugh because they were like, "Yeah, we hope not to see you again either."
Right.
And but
You're a
find,
miracle.
what
Literally
I
a
find, sorry, go on.
I says, you're just a miracle. You're literally a miracle. And there's a reason for it. And the longer I live and the older I get, the more I realize miracles when I see it. But it's always for a reason. Think about that reason.
I have so many miracle stories. That's for another day, another show. And I now will be able to invite you on Cancer Bites. And although I'm not the host, Stacey Alvarez from the Barbados is the host. You'll get to meet her. It I did found that doesn't sound right. I am the founder of Cancer Bites, and it is solely focused on cancer. And you're going to be hopefully you'll say yes to being a fairly regular guest, because I think that being able to focus specifically on cancer, you're finding that in your practice that people need to know all the things that could go on, and I didn't know, you know. I
Yeah.
was I
Right.
was thinking I still was doing the bargaining thing with the doctor when he
Yeah.
was standing there and saying, Siobhan, you have metastatic breast cancer. And what this means is it's here, 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 and here. And we also think it's in your bones, which they did find out later. And they
Yeah.
sort of said it sort of matter of factly to me. And I said, I didn't know.
Because
Doc
they
wasn't
have
there
to,
and found
because
that out.
you are a female Tommy.
Oh, wow.
That's why I told the story. Okay. You don't, it's hard. You survive it all, but you got to know what you're surviving. And you got to keep that same personality that you have. That's called perseverance. I don't think it's denial. I think it's strength and I think it's perseverance. But you got to open yourself up to listening, to hear, to keep that going. You got to do some things. And if you don't hear, you don't do those things that you should have been doing. So
Well,
your miracle is that your strength and your miracle is that you had such strength and perseverance that you were able to overcome the seriousness of your condition for a while. But now that you know the seriousness of your condition, you still keep that same strength and perseverance, but now you got to do things.
Yes. And I'm doing them. And some days I don't, I usually have 1 or 2 days where I just kind of low and but I have so much energy, which has surprised me. So, and I am on specific, they're not even called chemo drugs, right? It's called Kisqali, and that is to just destroy those cancer cells. And then I can really focus on the naturopathic uh, part of doing green drinks and all the things that you're telling
Yeah,
me. You've given me a protocol. I'll be able to focus on that, but they
yeah,
want to destroy the cancer, evict it from my body, and I'm okay with that, as long as I don't have to be on that thing forever.
right.
But
You
it's
won't have to be on that thing forever, what you're calling that thing. However, you have to live a clean lifestyle forever. And that's called a cancer free apoptosis, autophagy, ketosis, alkaline, detox, heavy program. I mean, I've got so many names, but you do your best to have a wholesome body that it deters the cancer cells from living inside your body.
I'm going to say that I did your 21-day detox last July. So I would have done it July into August for 21 days. I lost 21 pounds. I felt great. And then it was almost a whole year later. But I believe that the detox set me up for survival, because I went into I most likely had cancer growing in my body. The tumors were already growing there. There's one in my spine as well, and I don't feel it, but it's there. And
Yeah,
and the thing is, but I went in healthy because I did your
right.
detox.
But you got to remember everything that cancer loves, you weren't doing. Loves an inflamed body. You were anti-inflammatory. It loves sugar. You were on a low sugar. Everything that it loves. It loves toxicity. You were getting rid of the toxins from your body. And then you were releasing these toxins through your program and you were increasing oxygenation. And so that's a healthy body. So that was already what you were doing, apoptosis all day long, every day for 21 days. And that's the thing that I tell people, the thing that kept the cancer away at bay is the thing you do every day.
Hmm. So now we're going to evict it.
Yes.
It's being evicted. The scans are showing improvement, and yes, my coffee anxiety. It's probably exactly what it is.
Do some ashwagandha right before your coffee.
Oh,
Happens. Sometimes people just don't, they think coffee's helping them, but they just love the taste.
well, I was off coffee for years and years and years. And I got back onto coffee in the hospital. Those
Yeah.
some funny stories, because that hospital had uh, resort style food. It was amazing. And I could just pick up the phone. I had a menu and I could order whatever I wanted. I wasn't on any sort of diet or anything. So the first thing that
Mhm.
morning, the first morning I was in the hospital, I was like, oh, heck, I'm having coffee. I'm having coffee. And
Yeah.
I ordered a piece of apple pie.
Yeah. And the hospital allows you to do
And it
that.
took me
And I
all
did that
day to all
twice.
day to eat that big
Yeah.
piece of pie. Now I
Mhm.
wish I could get back in the hospital just to get that pie, because it was
Yes.
some part of me that it just made me feel better.
Yes,
Right?
it did.
Right. But it took me
It
all
felt
day
like
to
love.
get it.
Apple pie feels like love.
Yeah. So I had coffee and apple pie my first morning in the hospital, and I guess I knew right then and there everything would be all right. But I still went through all the deep, dark, nasty things, and I was bargaining with the doctor. I was like, he just told me you have this cancer.
All over the
Gave
place
me
and you're
they give me
bartering.
6 years to live,
Yes.
and I'm like bargaining with him. I said, well, no, I'm sure it's probably uh, asthma.
Yeah.
There's asthma runs in my family, and he
Allergies. Allergens in this room. Yeah.
Yeah, I was still bargaining with him when he was telling me, no, we're pretty sure it's showing to be metastatic. No, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
It was amazing how I fought
Yeah.
him. I fought the nurses. I think I was also very kind to them. But if I fought them a little bit and
Yeah.
pushed the limits, I apologize. But um,
So
he,
there's a lot of things you still have to do besides doing the detox. You got to get some more integrative testing done. You got to things that they don't do in the hospital. I want to know if you have metals, heavy metals. I want to take a deeper dive into your estrogen and progesterone and testosterone. And when I say a deeper dive, I don't want the on the surface test. I need deep down. I need to go deep and to make sure wherever it was lit up that you don't have inflammation in your body. That's why you have to continue to do the red, green, and yellow. And if there's a way that you could do castor oil packs and that you could do um, 60 minutes, maybe 3 times a week of infrared sauna. I mean, these are part of your lifestyle that you want to just do. Don't let it allow you to feel sick. Just
yeah,
think of it as a great happy lifestyle that you're doing.
yeah,
Some people do it, they don't have cancer, they just love going in the sauna. I want you to love going in the infrared sauna.
and I have to come and live with you then because you have all those toys.
All those toys. Yeah, I do.
Um, this has not been the show I thought it was going to be. I thought
But it's
a
been great.
lot
It
of
was fun to,
tears,
yeah.
and I miss the fact that Donna was, not able to be with us, but we'll get her back on another show.
We
And
sure will. I was looking forward to seeing her tonight. But I tell you one thing, uh, the people that I have here, I shared lots of stories about them. And Donna, if you do talk to her tonight, tell her that they're here at my retreat.
I
Uh,
will. I
yes,
will.
yeah.
Yeah, and
She met them. She met
I
them. Yeah,
I understand that you guys will be meeting again
yeah,
soon.
we will.
That'd
Yeah,
be very exciting, and I wish I could be there. But one day,
yeah.
I'm
You will.
I'm
I know
not going
you'll come.
anywhere.
You definitely will come. Yeah.
And for those of you that love me, I'm not going anywhere. For those of you who don't like me too much, I'm not going anywhere.
Everybody loves you.
Dr. Ronnie, thank you so much.
When you're feeling down, get off the ground.